relevance. We are Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It has gone exactly 4 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon to you, Africa, wherever it is that you may be joining us from today. I'm Thami Ngubeni. Welcome to 4 o'clock. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa. Let's kick off, as we do every single weekday, with the latest local, continental and international news with Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African perspective.
Thank you, Thami. Looking at your top stories, the paramilitary rapid support forces attack causes a blackout across the city of El Obeid, and Israel seizes strategic areas in Lebanon. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Reports from Sudan say the paramilitary rapid support forces have attacked a power station, causing a blackout across the city of El Obeid. An official told the French news agency the drone strike started a fire at the site. 9 people have been killed and at least a dozen others injured in separate drone attacks over the past week. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that the upcoming 46th Southern African Development Community Extraordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government will take place in the eThekwini Metropolitan Municipality in the KwaZulu-Natal province this coming August. Ramaphosa made the announcement while addressing attendees at the unveiling ceremony of statues honoring struggle icons Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo. He said the decision to host the summit in the province was influenced by the significant progress made in revitalizing and restoring its former statue. Ramaphosa explains.
Durban indeed is the tourism mecca of our country, and we want it to stay like that and even get better. In order to confirm this, I am pleased to announce that eThekwini will be the venue of the 46th Ordinary Summit of the Heads of State and Government of Southern Africa. So because of all the work that you're doing and the progress that you're making, we will bring the SADC heads of state here in this metro. And one of the areas that I would like to lead them to is to go and lay wreaths at either of the 2 statues.
The National Prosecuting Authority in South Africa says Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused Tobias Matonodze will face 2 additional charges, including pointing a firearm and contravening the Immigration Act. The pair are charged with attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, and possession of a firearm. The arrest relates to a shooting incident where a 23-year-old man believed to be a gardener at the Mugabe residency in Johannesburg was shot. They briefly appeared in the Alexander Magistrate Court today, and their case has been postponed to Thursday. The National Prosecuting Authority's Gauteng Province spokesperson, Makgaboke Mohlatlole, explains.
The case against Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused Tobias Matonodze has been postponed by the Alexandra Magistrates Court to Thursday, 5 March 2026. The postponement will allow the state to provide the defense with confirmatory documentary evidence from the Department of Home Affairs and for the defense to obtain further instructions from their clients. The 2 face charges including attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, possession of an unlicensed firearm and ammunition, 2 counts of pointing of a firearm, and contravention of the Immigration Act.
The Department of Employment and Labour in South Africa says it will provide support to families affected following a building collapse in Omonde, south of Johannesburg today. The department says this includes assistance through the compensation fund where applicable. Another body has been retrieved from the rubble of the collapsed building, bringing the death toll to 9. The Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, Jomo Sibiya, says information received by the department indicates that contractors linked to the site are registered with relevant compensation structures. He says this will assist in processing claims.
And we found that the main contractor is registered with the FEM, and the other 2 subcontractors are registered with us in compensation fund, which will also assist in assisting the families and also paying compensation where it's due and where it's necessary. And we can say that we've picked up as well that there are issues of those who are non-South Africans who are part of the deceased.
Israel says it is seizing strategic areas in Lebanon to prevent cross-border fire as it attacks the capital Beirut along with targets in Iran. The Lebanese authorities say around 30,000 people have been displaced by Israeli airstrikes against the armed group Hezbollah, which is allied to Iran. The BBC's Yolanda Nell.
Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz said that the Israeli military would seize strategic areas in Lebanon to stop fire on Israelis living along the border in the north of the country. The move is a new blow to Lebanese sovereignty and the 2024 US brokered ceasefire deal that brought an end to a year of full-on fighting between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. Lebanese reports say that Lebanon's army is beginning to pull back from its positions in the south. Israel's military says it's continued with targeted airstrikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon and Iranian military sites.
Recapping on your top stories, reports from Sudan say the paramilitary rapid support forces have attacked a power station, causing a blackout across the city of El Obeid. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nsinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, Bafana head coach Hugo Bruce hopes the new sponsorship agreement with Standard Bank will extend beyond the senior teams, while 5-star hotels lead the price increases in Milan during the Winter Olympic Games. Details coming up at 4:30.
Business, trade, and investment opportunities that put the continent first. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni.
Welcome to Tuesday, the 3rd of March, 2026. A very good afternoon to you, Kenya. Good afternoon, Egypt, Eritrea, Somalia, Senegal. Good afternoon, DRC, Eswatini. Good afternoon, Africa. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa. I'm Thami Ngubeni. Coming up this hour on Africa in Business, great news for Nigeria as the country's net foreign exchange reserves increase by 772% in 2 years, now reaching a point of $34.8 billion. And South Africa's Companies and Intellectual Property Commission raises awareness on the vital role of intellectual property protection. Do stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za and on Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus. If you choose, you can go to DSTV and OpenView and use their audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and Channel Africa One on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally.
Years of Channel Africa, your trusted voice, your African perspective into the future.
We begin here this afternoon with a look at Iran and the economic state following the striking of Iran by Israel and the United States. Investors are currently assessing the situation in the Middle East. This is after tensions escalated dramatically and sent shockwaves through the global markets. Over the weekend, the United States and Israel launched large-scale strikes inside Iran aimed at crippling its military and missile capabilities, while also preventing it from advancing its nuclear program. Those strikes reportedly killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, raising fears of a wider regional confrontation. Analysts say the immediate concern is around energy security. This is after oil prices rose as much as 13% at the open to hit $82 a barrel. SABC News economics reporter Nosipo Khatebe has that story.
Global financial markets have started the month on the back foot as escalating conflict in the Middle East fuels sharp moves in oil, gold, and emerging market currencies. Brent crude prices surged past $78 a barrel by midday after shipping through the Strait of Hormuz slowed dramatically. It is the vital corridor that carries roughly a fifth of the world's oil supply. Senior Portfolio Manager at Benguela Global Fund Managers, Grant Nader, explains.
There is a lot of uncertainty. Does this persist and now expand into complete disruption in the region, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz, in which it's a key supply route for the global oil supply? South Africa doesn't buy much oil from there, but obviously global prices will get squeezed and will be affected by that. Oil already up around 10% over the weekend. So there's a lot of knock-on factors that could play out, and it's really about assessing, is it short-term or is it longer-term? And if it's longer-term, there's a lot more risk that still unfolds as a result of that.
Meanwhile, gold is climbing back toward $5,400 an ounce on safe haven demand. Nader explains that the rand and other emerging market currencies are under pressure as the market assesses how this plays out.
So short-term, the spike, the markets tend to overlook it. You get a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction and a rush to safety of the dollar. The rand is weakened, and if we think of South Africa, the rand is weakened about 1.5%. Oil's up 10%. We're entirely dependent on the rand oil price for our petrol price setting, for our energy prices, and that feeds through into the broader economy. If we see oil kick on from 80 to closer to 100, in other words, if there's a sustained disruption of the oil supply in the Middle East, the entire outlook changes for South Africa. The rate cuts very much off the table. The inflation target of 3%, that goes off the table. And what is the feed through into the prospects for growth? Consumer is now under more pressure, so that would hurt the retailers, would hurt some of the financials. So these are the things that we have to take into account.
Nader says with oil at around $80 a barrel, the move is likely to translate into petrol price increases in next month's adjustment, adding pressure to South African consumers. I'm Nosipo Khatebe in Johannesburg.
The safety and well-being of learners is a shared social responsibility. Parents and guardians play a critical role in ensuring safe, reliable, and lawful scholar transport. Parents are therefore urged to take responsibility for the following. Before entering into any scholar transport arrangement, parents must satisfy themselves that the operator uses vehicles with valid roadworthy certificates and operating licenses, and that the driver holds a valid professional driving permit, PDP. By working together, parents, operators, and authorities can protect learners and build a culture of safety on our roads. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
Africa is changing, and the world is paying attention. This March, Channel Africa invites you to be part of a new conversation. Africa Matters, a platform where experts, policymakers, and thought leaders come together to unpack the big issues of our time: technology, politics, economics, climate change, and the future of our people. This is where ideas meet action, where change becomes opportunity, where Africa's voice takes its rightful place on the global stage. In March 2026, Channel Africa hosts Africa Climate Change Recovery Summit. Join the dialogue. Be part of the movement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
It has gone exactly 13 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. We set our sights now onto Nigeria, where the country's net foreign exchange reserve climbed sharply to $34.8 billion by the end of 2025. That's a significant increase from $3.99 billion recorded in 2023. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, says the surge to stronger external fundamentals and a series of policy reforms have helped restore confidence in the currency market. He noted that the improvement reflects increased foreign exchange inflows, more effective reserves management, and a renewed capacity to meet external obligations while stabilizing the exchange rate. For more on this, we joined on the line by Dennis O'Shea, a certified financial modeling and valuation analyst. Good to be talking to you once again, Dennis. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Well, Tammy, it's good to hear from you. I could actually say Happy New Year to you.
I think that ship has sailed, Dennis, dare I say. It is our first time speaking, so I'll accept that with grace. So, back to the issue at hand. What could be a part of the causes for the increase in Nigeria's net FX reserves to $34.8 billion in 2025?
If you can remember last year, I gave you a trajectory towards, I think we spoke in December, and I gave you a trajectory of the economy. I told you that there will be a lot of people sending money back into the nation. There's going to be a lot of investment, both of foreign and local investment pouring towards the end of the year. And also, I explained that the calendar also allows it, considering the fact that Nigeria is taking it on themselves to diversify their economy beyond just dependence on oil. We became stable with Dangote's refinery, ensuring that there is consistently refining oil for local consumers, stabilizing inflation, looking at the currency stabilizing last year, and also we saw some numbers of diversification in solid minerals and every single thing. So there are numbers within the economy that are pushing within the solid minerals, IT, and also several other industries that are receiving a lot of inflows, inflation stabilizing, and local spending increasing, especially during the festives. So I will not be surprised with this details coming from the World Bank.
Right. And to what extent is this reserves growth still dependent on oil earnings, given Nigeria's vulnerability to the crude price?
Is still significantly very, very affiliated to the oil market because the details that came out was this last week into this week, Nigeria is more than 50% a major exporter to global markets, especially the United States, and that is a huge foreign currency that is coming from the United States for oil and gas. So Nigeria, for also the EU, is the biggest exporter of oil and gas from Africa. So it's still highly dependent on that. But there are indications of diversification, especially earnings coming from IT services, from a lot of startups and a lot of financial services in IT. We can see a lot of diversification there. We're also seeing a growing agricultural diversification that could become a powerhouse if it could be taken very seriously with long-term investments. We see mining also picking up. And also, we see a lot of entertainment and arts and crafts picking up. So there are elements of a diversification that might not be as strong as they are. Investors are trying to see how to spawn those industries, but it's still to a large extent dependent on oil.
And how does the improved reserves position affect the country's ability to meet its external debt obligations?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one because the foreign debt is a major shock absorber for the economy because that is a financial risk on its own because one of the major financial risks that the naira has been going through is due to not having enough foreign liquidity to meet up with the demands that comes with the volume of transaction that Nigeria does. So that has become a major issue. But now this brings a lot of stability because there is something that acts as a cushion for any kind of financial shock that could arise. And so a larger foreign reserves is super good for considering the number of volume of foreign transactions that is being done by Nigeria. So it's a good indication. A second one is that it also gives the country an opportunity to be able to access the foreign reserves when they need it for maybe urgent, maybe infrastructural or any kind of developmental project. It is very, very advisable that the country doesn't consume all that it makes, especially considering the fact that Nigeria is now going to enjoy from the rising price of oil and gas. This is the opportunity for them to be able to take advantage of this and also increase the foreign reserves so that shocks will not be affecting the currency the way it used to do in the past.
We saw this morning, Dennis, the Naira continuing to depreciate against the US dollar after opening trade for the week. This increase in foreign exchange reserves, what does it mean for the stability of the Naira in the long run? I think you did touch a little bit on that, but if you could just break that down a little bit more for us.
So let me use the South African situation as an example. South Africa doesn't keep foreign reserves like other countries do due to its financial architecture. But what South Africa does is that South Africa is a solid economy that is dependent on solid minerals that are very, very liquid. You get it, gold and critical minerals, copper, and several of the platinum that South Africa is in makes it quickly liquid to be able to access some cash and creditors be able to hold on to it. The issue with oil and gas for Nigeria is that the price fluctuates. If you remember, throughout 2024 to 2025, the price of oil and gas has been flat. It just picked up now because of the geopolitical tensions that's been happening all across the world. And now this is the time that you remember the currency is hinged to certain key foreign earners, and one of them for Nigeria is oil and gas. So with this season, we're looking at the next financial period where we'll be looking at the short-term financials of the country. I believe it's going to pick up. The currency is going to be picking up, but the depreciation we're seeing is as a result of just the previous financial year that passed. But generally, financially on the books, Nigeria looks good right now with what the administration is pushing. Yeah.
Certainly is, based on these reports. Dennis O'Shea, always a pleasure. You have yourself a good one, sir.
Thank you. Enjoy your day, Thami.
Thank you. That's Dennis O'Shea, certified financial modeling and valuation analyst, taking us to 22 minutes after 4.
Using Scholar Transport comes with responsibilities. Every learner has a role to play in keeping themselves, their friends, and the driver safe. Stay seated and behave responsibly. Avoid shouting, pushing, standing, or moving around inside the vehicle at any time. Think safety first. Remember that safety starts before the journey begins and continues until you are safely off the road. Good behavior saves lives. Your actions matter. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
When it comes to world-class exhibitions and event solutions, one name leads the way: GL Events South Africa. From concept to completion, we transform ideas into exceptional experiences, delivering seamless events for conferences, exhibitions, business functions, and more. With global expertise and local insight, we provide innovative, sustainable, and turnkey event solutions you can trust. Partner with the industry leader. Partner with GL Events South Africa. Visit gl-events.co.za.
Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
It is 23 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. We touched on this yesterday, and we continue focusing on the 2026 Energy Indaba. It is currently underway in Cape Town, South Africa. This event brings together leaders from government, industry, finance, as well as civil society in order to help shape Africa's energy future. Among the key institutions participating is the South African National Energy Development Institute, SANEDI, which is focused on driving innovative, integrated clean energy and resource-efficient solutions in order to unlock growth and prosperity. Joining us this afternoon is Professor Prathaban Mudli, the Executive Applied Energy Research at SANEDI, to unpack their role at this year's Indaba. A very good afternoon to you, Prof. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you and your listeners. Great to be with you today.
Certainly is great hosting you. So let's talk about Sanedi and how you are accelerating clean energy innovation in order to support South Africa's just energy transition.
No, I think excellent question. So Sanedi is an entity of the Department of Electricity and Energy, and our work is really to do research around all of the energy sources that is available now and into the future. But we don't just do research, our research has to inform key our principles, which is really the department and the minister on what's coming and how do they shape things like policy and regulation. So some of the things that we've been involved in very recently over the past, let's say, 12 months is the Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP 2025. And that's been, I think, an extremely important policy document that's based predominantly on scientific facts and evidence and knowledge going to be shaping our long-term energy or power sector plans for probably the next 15 to 20 years. So I think that's quite important, and we're quite excited around the policy because it brings a lot of certainty, especially around the power sector. The other one that we done quite recently as well is the Integrated National Electricity Program, which is called INEP, which is really providing universal access to electricity. And I think it was a key point that was made at today's conference, and it's made constantly that, in continental Africa, there's about 600 million citizens of continental Africa that's never had access to electricity. We are also, situated with the same kind of challenges in South Africa, although we've done pretty well over the past 25 years. We've gone from something like 30 odd percent electrification to about 94%. But we still need to electrify the balance of the population, and that's about 1.6 million households that's never had access to electricity. So INEP is the other one that we've done in space on some of the newer technologies, cleaner technologies, microgrids and solar PV and battery and storage and all of those great things. But I think a lot of this work comes out from the deep research that we have at Sanedi. We've got centers of expertise, focusing on renewable technologies, cleaner mobility technologies, smart grids, digitalization, storage, energy efficiency, and even clean coal. So, that's what we've been up to.
And how much of this is actually around leveraging, 4IR technologies in order to strengthen decarbonization efforts?
Yes, I think two of those very important areas is digitalization and smart grids. And maybe just to highlight on the smart grids, Sanedi leads a collaboration locally in the country with all of the distributors in the country, but we also participate internationally with the International Energy Agency, and we represent South Africa there. That's where we, learn from our peers, but we also contribute to the South African lessons on the global stage, and we bring all of that home to shape how smart grids can help the decarbonization efforts of our future power system. Maybe just to give you a concrete example, we've got currently about 14 power stations. In the future, we can add 100 gigawatts with maybe hundreds or thousands of new sources of generation. And how do you deploy the smart grid to do things like forecasting, energy trading, managing of these assets and so forth? So that's what the smart grids bring to the fore. Our digitalization center also does quite a bit of the work around data and analysis using AI and machine learning, things dealing with revenue management, future capabilities of demand side management, electric vehicles, and how do you integrate that into the power system, and then still, customers deploying all of these new technologies like rooftop PV and storage and so forth. So two key areas for us: digitalization and smart grids, big contributors towards using 4IR to decarbonize the power sector.
Right. And I wonder, the programs that you currently have in place, what are the practical impacts that you are able to see that these programs are having on energy efficiency at a municipal level?
Yep, I think we've got quite a very healthy program around energy efficiency, and especially focus on municipalities. We've got a combination of doing research work that informs policy. There's applications, and then there's big pilots and demonstrations. So maybe just if you yourself and your listeners note, if you are going to be buying a new appliance, you'll see a category label on the back of your fridge or your washing machine or any of these large appliances. That standards and label is actually the custodian of that is Sanedi, and we work with our international partners to make sure that customers are aware of the most efficient appliances that you are going to buy, that it's big purchase items, and let's make sure you buy the right appliance from an energy efficiency perspective for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. We're also doing big pilots and demonstrations of, reducing the energy consumption of water plants and wastewater treatment plants. And that's going to be providing a key guideline for all the municipalities. That's a significant energy consumption service that needs to be provided to all citizens in each municipality. And the combination of energy efficient motors and other devices in water and wastewater treatment plants together with renewables provides a very nice sustainable opportunity into the future. But we also do, I think, the energy performance certificates, and maybe just to highlight to the listeners, large commercial buildings take a lot of energy, and part of the regulation requires us to benchmark the consumption of these large commercial buildings. And Sanedi is intimately involved in the regulation to actually issue these licenses and certificates to the building owners. So quite a bit in energy efficiency as well.
No, certainly. I'm sure a great contribution, will be made at the Energy Indaba. It's currently taking place in Cape Town, South Africa. Professor Moodley, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Professor Prathaban Moodley. He's the Executive Applied Energy Research at Sanedi, unpacking the role that they're playing at this year's Indaba. Takes us to exactly 32 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time as we head over now to the markets desk where Chandu Ligege is standing by with your latest market indicators.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Thami. Good afternoon. $1 is trading at 16 Rand 09 in South Africa, Botswana 13 Pula 07, Namibia 16 Namibian dollars 09, Zambia 18 Kwacha 98. In Kenya, the dollar is 128 shillings 09, Ethiopia 155 bih 81, Uganda 3,000 shilling 601, Tanzania 2,000 shilling 551. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,364 naira. Egypt, the dollar is 48 Egyptian pound 81, Tunisia 2 dinar 87, Algeria 129 dinar 32, Morocco 90 ram 11. Angola 912 kwanza, the Congolese franc is 2,192 to the US dollar. Commodities, gold is at $5,146, platinum at $2,089 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $83.35 a barrel. That is all from me. For any stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And for the latest from the business of sport, here's Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you so much, Thami. A very good afternoon once again from the sports desk. Well, Danny Jordan, the president of the South African Football Association, has emphasized the importance of the corporate partnerships in football following SAFA's latest multi-million rand deal with Standard Bank, highlighting just how banking institutions have historically maintained good ties, very strong ties with football globally. So SAFA as well as Standard Bank on Monday announced a landmark sponsorship that will see Africa's largest bank by assets become an official partner supporting Bafana Bafana, Banyana Banyana, as well as grassroots national teams from 2026 and beyond.
The most successful team in the world, Brazil, has a long relationship with Unibanco as a partner, and therefore Standard Bank securing the partnership also beyond the FIFA World Cup. FIFA is finalizing its sponsorship with the American Bank, which is going to be a partner of FIFA. So banking institutions has a major role to play in realizing the full potential, and we are happy we have Standard Bank here as a partner to walk the path with us and to deliver quality players for our two coaches, Hugo Bruce and Desiree Ellis.
Meanwhile, Bafana Bafana coach Hugo Bruce hopes the new sponsorship agreement will extend beyond the senior national teams as well as benefit SAFA's regional structures as well as local football associations to strengthen talent identification as well as development.
Well, I think it means a lot because deliver a good development and a good formation for players needs good formation for coaches. Needs organizing camps, needs a good professional preparation for the big tournaments. So this investment will, I think, we will be able to give a better formation and a better development to our players. That means that the quality of our players will increase. And with that quality, certainly we will have better result, even better result.
Onto this story now. Luxury hotels led a sharp rise in Milan room rates during the Winter Olympics, a local industry lobby said, confirming that visitors to the games skewed towards big spenders. Now, Italy hosted the Winter Games from February 6th to the 22nd, while alpine resorts such as Cortina d'Ampezzo as well as Bormio were home to the mountain sports. Indoor activities like figure as well as speed skating or ice hockey took place in Milan. So high hotel occupancy in the city contrasted with weak demand for short-term rentals. Now, ticket prices running into several hundred of US dollars put the event out of reach for many, filling the ice arenas with deep-pocketed spectators. Now, the average price of a hotel room in Milan rose to about $319 per night between the 3rd as well as the 23rd of February, up to $225 in the same period last year. Industry Association Federalberg Milano having told Reuters Sport. Now, 5-star hotels recorded the steepest increase, with average rates 87% higher than in 2025, while the prices rose to 46% for more 4-star properties and around 20% for 3-star hotels. Now, rates peaked between the 11th and the 14th of February, according to the Winter Olympics Association. On to some golf news now. John Rahm has claimed that the DP World Tour is extorting players, as he outlined just why he is not among the group of live golf competitors who have signed a settlement enabling them to play in both organizations' tournaments. Now, 8 players were last month granted releases by the DP World Tour, formerly known as the European Tour, to participate in live golf events this year, allowing them to retain memberships as well as remain eligible for Ryder Cup selection. The waiver included an agreement to pay outstanding fines, reportedly in the region of $4.5 million levied for playing in live golf events without DP World Tour permission, the withdrawal of all pending appeals, and an unacceptable to take part in stipulated DP World tournaments. At the same time, the Spaniard, a former world number one as well as a two-time major winner, said he was not going to agree to those conditions, although rather he suggested a compromise could be found if the number of DP tournaments needing to be played is reduced.
In a way, they're extorting players like myself and young players that have nothing to do with the politics of the game. I don't like what they're doing currently, amongst other things that I don't agree with. If we just go based on that, I've been a dual member my whole career, PGA Tour and DP World Tour. Now, with Live Golf being accepted in the world rankings as part of the ecosystem, you could almost say 3-tour member, even though I'm suspended from the PGA Tour. But I've always been a dual member. Never once have I been asked for a release to play either one of those tours. We've never submitted a release. Why is it now that we need to be offering that and there's all these penalties? Now, while I understand why they're doing it,
for any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect. Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is exactly 4:40 Central African Time as we turn our focus now to South Africa's Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, that is the CIPC. They're set to host the CIPC Intellectual Property Youth Awards 2026. This initiative is designed to broaden the Commission's outreach as well as deepen its support for youth-led innovation. The awards program seeks to promote awareness of the vital role that intellectual property protection plays within South Africa's entrepreneurial ecosystem. CIPC says the initiative continues to inspire and empower emerging innovators by equipping them with the knowledge and tools needed to turn their ideas into sustainable, successful businesses. For more on this, we're joined on the line by Amanda Lotheringen, Senior Manager for Copyright and Intellectual Property Enforcement at the CIPC. A very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Thami, it's very nice to be here.
Well, look, what a fantastic project, stimulating young minds while educating them, but also rewarding them for the progress that they have already made in their entrepreneurial and innovation journey. What is it that inspired CIPC to launch these IP Youth Awards?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. The real reason behind us having a IP Youth Awards was actually to inspire our younger generation to learn more about the value of intellectual property. And intellectual property is actually creations of their minds. So anybody can come up with a very nice idea that can really expand into a very good sustainable business.
Right. And from inception, how have these awards evolved? What are the tweaks and changes that you've needed to make in order for it to be fit for purpose?
Yeah, we started last year, 2025. That was our inaugural event. And we reached out to all the stakeholder and partners that we've been working with in the past that focused on the youth. And we had a good number of entries, and we really had some exceptional winners last year. The one category that we included last year was school children, 15 to 18-year-olds, and this year's competition is not having that category because they are so overburdened currently in the school system. And we will have a separate competition focusing only on the school children. So this year's competition is looking at youth between the ages of 18 and 35. And our categories has also been updated a little bit so that it's easier to understand and clearer for anybody that's interested to enter, to know which category they have to enter into.
And how did these awards support emerging innovators in actually being able to turn those fabulous ideas that they have into sustainable businesses?
Yeah, Tammy, that's the most difficult part, to keep the business sustainable and to let them live past that 3-year dreaded mark. So, what the first thing that we do have in place is good prize money. That's always a good positive. So, there's prizes for the first, second, and third comer. And apart from that, we try to put some mentorship and hand holding in place. We did find that small businesses that do get one-on-one mentorship, they flourish more than businesses just left to their own devices. We did have a feedback session with last year's winners, and I can report back that some of them has really grown from strength to strength. Others are still struggling with certain aspects. And one of the biggest areas that they always mention is access to finance. So this year we are including all the mechanisms available in government so that we can provide and assist them with getting funding for their brilliant ideas.
So let's talk about that in a bit more detail. Could you give us the details? What are the practical tools or the resources that CIPC provides the young people in order to help them navigate IP protection as well as IP commercialization?
Yeah, the CIPC has in the 4 main domains of intellectual property, which includes your patents, your design rights, your trademarks that we often deal with as consumers, your well-known brands, and your copyright area. We assist them in physically registering these rights. Just a reminder that copyright is a natural right, so that right's not registered. But all the other areas we assist by guiding them through the registration processes. We have made it actually so easy through an online registration process for anybody that wants to register a trademark. We also have an inventor assistance program for the patent area where we guide them through the processes to register a patent, and they get pro bono legal assistance. For this year's winners, we actually lined up a couple of well-recognized law firms that will assist them through the first steps. All of this will happen free of charge for the winners of this year's competition.
And how does the Commission see intellectual property protection actually contributing to the country's broader entrepreneurial and economic growth?
Yeah, I'm so glad you're asking this question, Thami, because intellectual property enforcement is my specialist area. And that speaks to respect for intellectual property. That's not downloading music on illegal websites and not supporting the fake Bafana jerseys sold on the street corners. And we see that if we start buying local and supporting authentic original products, that we will get fresh new investment into the country. Companies manufacturing goods in our country brings job opportunities. And that's one of the biggest challenges currently in our economy, is to create sustainable, well-paying job opportunities for our youth especially.
And education is so key to this entire process, in as much as you're celebrating and inspiring them. But within the awards, are there initiatives to specifically educate young innovators about copyright, about patents and trademarks?
Yeah. It's not only done in the awards, Thami. We have a fully fledged education and awareness program under the Innovation and Creativity Division of the CIPC. So we do a lot of education to the youth continuously. But with the entries, not only the winners, we will share links to webinars so that they can learn more about the value of IP. We also share information about our partner organizations, like the Innovation Bridge portal, where you can get continuous information about intellectual property, SMME support, drafting of business plans, and a whole number of other areas that may be valuable to you as a young entrepreneur or business person.
Amanda Lothringen, lovely chatting to you, and all the best with these awards. Certainly such a beautiful project, getting the young people started off from a sound foundation. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank
Keep
you.
well.
You too. That's Amanda Lotheringen. She's a Senior Manager for Copyright and Intellectual Property Enforcement at the CIPC. She takes us to exactly 4:49.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. From markets to innovation. From markets to innovation. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni covers it all. With Africa's future in focus, Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is indeed the African perspective. In just about 10 minutes' time, we'll be changing gears from the English desk and handing the reins over to the French desk. And Joelle is standing by. She's captain of that ship. Good afternoon, Joelle.
Bonjour Tammy, bonjour à tous les auditeurs de Channel Africa sur Vue d'Afrique. Dans quelques petites minutes, il sera question du conflit au Moyen-Orient. Le chef de l'ONU appelle à une désescalade immédiate. Nous parlerons aussi du conflit à l'est de la RDC. Washington durcit le temps et sanctionne la hiérarchie militaire rwandaise. Et en deuxième partie avec Jolino Songo, il sera question de sport, notamment de football et autres. Restez donc connectés sur Vue d'Afrique, c'est tout à l'heure. Merci Tammy.
Merci beaucoup. She comes up at the top of the hour.
The voice of the continent, now online, with all your sports fixtures, lifestyle, and more. Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Stay ahead with Africa in Business, where Thami Ngubeni unpacks your go-to source for Africa's economic trends and development.
We all knew that this would be the eventuality, and yes, from the 4th of March, South Africans and South African motorists specifically will be starting to feel the pinch. Motorists can expect to pay more at the pump as fuel prices are set to increase from the 4th of March. This is amid the highly volatile geopolitical situation in the Middle East. The department says the spike in the fuel price is as a consequence of last month's Brent crude oil increase, a strong rand-dollar exchange, as well as geopolitical uncertainty between the United States and Iran. Naledi Mabitsela Ngobo reports.
The Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources has warned that rising geopolitical tensions may lead to an extended closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical Brent crude oil supply route. The Strait of Hormuz handles more than 20% of global and gas trade. The department said factors contributing to the current fuel price jump are based on February's developments, including higher Brent crude oil prices on the back of rising shipping rates and geopolitical uncertainty, among others. The department's Robert Make elaborates.
The reason for this adjustment are the higher Brent crude oil prices on average due to tension between USA and Iran during the period under review. The average international product prices followed the increasing trend of the oil prices. Brent continued to strengthen against the US dollar and cushioned the fuel prices by close to 20 cents per litre. The slate levy remains unchanged at 0 cents per litre in the price structures of both petrol and diesel.
The fuel price increase is expected to add a marginal increase to the local inflation rate. However, persistent high oil prices and a weak rand-dollar exchange on the back of geopolitical tensions may result in higher inflation of around 0.4%. Chief economist at Investec, Annabelle Bishop, explains.
Even so, we would not expect to see the Reserve Bank hike interest rates. They would likely to look through this impact. And of course, as well, we do find that the recent jump in the oil price has actually seen some moderation. Dollar and, of course, some improvement in the rand as well, back towards 16 rand to the US dollar. So CPI inflation was at 3.5% in the latest print and was in any case expected to drop down towards 3% in the month of February due to high base effects from a year ago. This will also help moderation inflation. Globally, of course, the jump in the oil price and will depend very much on how long it persists for international fuel price effects. The US has communicated that it will continue to strike Iran, but of course there's also uncertainty, and that's impacted global financial markets, and there's likely to be volatility.
The price of Brent crude oil jumped by more than 8.5% on Monday to reach around $79 per barrel. I'm Naledi Mabitsela Ngobo in Johannesburg.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has connected the continent. Celebrate the journey. Celebrate the African perspective.
It is exactly 4:54 Central African Time, and in this week's Standard Bank slot, we turn our attention to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. This comes as banking giant Standard Bank is backing South Africa's national football team, Bafana Bafana, ahead of this year's World Tournament in a really big way. Now, the sponsorship will also extend to all national teams, including the women's and junior teams. To unpack this partnership, Bonga Sibecho, head of sponsorship at Standard Bank Group, joins us on the line. A very good afternoon to you, sir. And you basically just said you are not just going to back Bafana Bafana, you're going to make sure that from the north, south, east and west, we're covered by blue. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and really appreciate it. Yeah, I love how you say that, North, South, East, and West. Yes, because essentially that's the nature of our partnership with the South African Football Association. It's not just the men, it is the women. It's not just the pinnacle at the senior men's team, but also all the way down to the junior team. So it's all encompassing. So we really love that, and it really represents how we see our involvement with football. It's not just dipping in and dipping out, picking the sides that are winning, but it's really about supporting all the national teams.
Now, Mr. Sibisho, the partnership comes at a pivotal time with Bafana Bafana heading to the 2026 FIFA World Cup and Banyana Banyana preparing for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. How did this moment influence your decision as Standard Bank to back these national teams?
Yeah, I mean, the FIFA World Cup is an amazing opportunity for us to really engage with the audience at large. But I must stress that our decision did not come purely because of the FIFA World Cup. We've been talking to South African Football Union Association rather for quite some time, and these conversations have been happening for close to a year. So it does help, I can't lie, that they're participating in these major tournaments, but that was not the sole kind of reason why we entered into this partnership. It's really because we want to connect with football fans, football lovers throughout the year. So the FIFA World Cup and Women's AFCON are events, and we really want to capitalize on them, but our association with the national teams is all-encompassing for 4 years. So it's throughout the year for the next 4 years.
One thing about your sponsorship as well is that it spans from grassroots national teams to senior squads who are competing on global stages. How will Standard Bank ensure that investment meaningfully strengthens development pathways and not just elite performance at the peak of one's career?
Absolutely, and we've been quite clear in our partnership agreement with SAFA is that the money has to go towards football. It has to go towards the development of these players all the way from junior to the 15, boys and girls, to the pinnacle, as I mentioned, of the senior team, Bafana and Banyana. And that money needs to go to support them. I think at Standard Bank, we stand for growth and partnering with our clients in the journey of growth. And that's why it was important to include all of these various national teams, because it's a platform for us to also connect with footballers, but also to tell our grand story, which is about partnering on journeys of growth. So, and that's why we want to make sure it goes towards the right endeavors. It's not really money for anything else, but for those players and for football lovers.
You've highlighted this particular phrase as your foundation, really, your purpose. Africa is our home. We drive her growth. Talk to us about this and why it was important to not just say South Africa, but really talk about Africa.
Absolutely. And that purpose really guides everything that we do. And also how we kind of go out and communicate. It is our purpose. It's really deeply ingrained in everything that we do, the decisions that we make. And the decisions that we don't make, in other words, that the decision not to participate in things when they don't squarely align to our purpose. So whilst this sponsorship is only in South Africa at the moment with the South African national football team, we hope that this is the start of how we begin to show up in different countries where we operate. I mean, you may know that Standard Bank is in 21 African countries. And we want that purpose to really come to shine through in all those countries so that we come through in a unified way. But really, it's dropped in this idea that we are for Africa. We are representing our growth. So everything that we do is going to be about how we drive Africa's growth, whether it is in a country, but overall as a continental approach.
Well, wishing you all of the best with the various teams that you're sponsoring. This is one of those moments where you don't know what blue needs to stand for. We don't want our teams and the country feeling blue because we want them to be performing well, and yet you are blue, so one is caught between a rock and a hard place. We'll see how we wiggle ourselves out of that one. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Have a great one.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Much appreciated. That's Sabonga Sebesho. He's head of sponsorship at Standard Bank Group. What an amazing sponsorship, right? Bafana as well as Banyana, and also focusing on development and grassroots level. Well, that's how we wrap up this Tuesday edition of Africa in Business. I'm Thami Ngubeni from myself and the entire team. Have yourself a splendid afternoon further as we hand the reins over now to Vue d'Afrique. Restez connectés.
Vue d'Afrique, un magazine des actualités en français sur